Welcome to today's deep dive. It is July 24, 2026, and our mission today is to explore a brand new press release that literally just dropped from EON AI Ventures.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating one.
It really is. So we are unpacking this newly announced platform they're calling the Work Intelligence Flywheel. And before we go any further, I need to clarify for you guys listening that this is not another discussion about generative AI, writing your emails or summarizing your meeting notes.
Right, we're creating those slightly uncanny images of hands with 6 fingers.
Exactly. We're talking about something far more tangible today. It is about translating human physical expertise into a compounding enterprise asset.
And I think that distinction is just crucial because the physical world operates under a completely different set of rules and risks, frankly, than the digital knowledge economy we usually associate with AI.
Totally.
Yeah.
And to understand why this matters, I want you to picture a scenario. You're standing on a factory floor, or maybe you are out on a remote freezing oil rig in the middle of the ocean somewhere.
Oh, that sounds miserable.
Right. The environment is incredibly loud, the machinery is immensely complex, and you have just been tasked with repairing a highly critical piece of heavy equipment. Now, how are you supposed to know what to do?
Well, if you were lucky, you might have an expert standing right over your shoulder. Someone who has been doing this exact job for 30 years.
But what if they just retired? Well, then you're probably staring down at this dusty 300-page paper manual from a decade ago, trying to translate static black and white diagrams into complex physical actions, all while the clock is ticking and the company is bleeding money.
It's a terrifying thought, but it's an incredibly common reality for millions of workers worldwide right now. We rely so heavily on the localized, undocumented expertise of individuals to just keep the physical infrastructure of our world running.
We really do. And the best analogy I can think of to explain the massive gap that EON AI Ventures is trying to fill with this announcement is this: think about how businesses operate today. We have massive, highly sophisticated software systems of record for everything, right?
Oh, absolutely. ERPs, CRMs, everything.
Yeah, we have a digital record for our money, our inventory, our supply chains, our customers. But somehow, the actual muscle memory of a company, the localized physical skills and knowledge of how work actually gets done on the floor by human beings, does not have a system of record.
It's completely invisible to the digital enterprise.
Exactly. It's invisible.
And that invisible knowledge is exactly what EON is targeting here. I mean, for decades, companies have poured billions of dollars into tracking the resources and the outputs of their operations. But the actual human procedure remains trapped.
Trapped in those dusty manuals we just talked about.
Right, trapped in manuals or isolated in training rooms, or most precariously, it is trapped entirely inside the memories of the experts themselves.
Which means when that expert clocks out for the last time, that knowledge practically vanishes.
It just walks right out the door with them.
Wow. So let's move from that theoretical gap in the market to the specific mechanical solution EON is actually proposing today. The core claim of this new Work Intelligence Flywheel is that it can extract that trapped knowledge, bring trusted operational guidance to the point of work, and then turn completed tasks into reusable intelligence.
Basically, they want to fundamentally capture, deploy, measure, and then continuously improve the knowledge required to perform physical work.
Okay, let's unpack this, because they have introduced a whole ecosystem of interconnected components in this release, and I want to make sure we understand how this actually functions in the physical world.
There's a lot of terminology here.
Yeah, quite a bit. They mention things called customer digital twins, field IQ, assess IQ, compound IQ, and the Work Intelligence Distillery. Let's not just list these, let's break down the anatomy. If I'm an enterprise customer, what actually is a customer digital twin in this context?
So a customer digital twin is the foundational layer. It's basically a millimeter-precise 3D digital replica of your physical workspace and the equipment within it.
Like a high-fidelity video game level of your factory.
Kind of, yeah, because before the AI can guide a worker, it has to understand the spatial reality of the factory floor or the oil rig. It needs to know exactly where the valves are, how the control panels are laid out, and the spatial relationship between the worker and the machine.
Okay, so the AI has a geometric map of the physical world. Then the press release says field IQ and assess IQ work together to recognize equipment and guide workers. And that is where I have to pause and push back a little bit on the reality of this implementation.
Oh, why is that?
Well, if I'm a worker doing a complex, physically demanding task, does capturing field evidence through assess IQ mean this system is just a high-tech surveillance camera breathing down my neck, because waiting for me to mess up sounds like a massive distraction, not a helpful tool.
What's fascinating here is that EON's approach is distinctly not about surveillance. It's really about encoding expert procedures into AI-guided simulations delivered in the flow of work.
But how? I mean, if I'm holding a heavy welding torch or I'm wearing thick protective industrial gloves, I cannot be swiping on an iPad or looking down at a simulation.
Oh, definitely not. And to understand this, look at their foundation. The press release notes that EON AI Ventures is actually building on a 25-year history of immersive learning technology. They've deployed this across more than 80 countries.
Yeah, 25 years. So this isn't a new startup pivoting to AI.
Exactly. That is where the Spatial Computing and Immersive Learning Foundation comes into play. They are not asking a welder to hold a tablet. This intelligence is designed to be delivered to any worker on any device.
So what does any device mean in a factory?
It increasingly includes augmented reality headsets, smart glasses, or even spatial audio cues. The technology uses the device's cameras that assess IQ to look at exactly what you are looking at.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, it recognizes the specific pump or circuit board in front of you. Then, Field IQ overlays the approved procedure directly onto your field of vision or guides you via audio, pointing out the exact sequence of actions.
So it is identifying the real-world objects right in front of me and giving me contextual directions.
Furthermore, Assess IQ is physically measuring your execution. It's verifying your competency in real time. It essentially closes the gap between the theoretical way a job is supposed to be done, the way it is written in a binder somewhere, and the actual local field practice of how it is safely accomplished.
Okay, so gathering all this field evidence, recording how thousands of workers are moving their hands, turning valves, and interacting with machinery, that's one thing. But if you have ever seen raw data from thousands of users, you know it is incredibly messy.
Oh, absolutely. It's chaotic.
Right. If you just applied raw crowdsourced data blindly to heavy industrial environments, it could be a catastrophic disaster.
Which is why the raw data never goes straight back to the workers. That brings us to the core engine sitting at the center of this platform, which is the Work Intelligence Distillery. EON explicitly describes this as an intelligence factory.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because a factory takes raw materials and processes them into a refined product, right?
Mm-hmm.
The analogy that immediately comes to my mind when reading how the distillery functions is a high-tech water purification plant.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, think about all that field evidence coming in from the workers as raw, muddy water pulled from a river. It is full of useful stuff, the actual water, but it is also full of impurities, bad habits, specific localized quirks, and crucially, a company's proprietary trade secrets.
Right. You cannot just pipe that raw river water directly into the drinking supply.
Exactly. The distillery acts as the algorithmic filtration system, and we need to explain how it filters. Let's say the trade secrets are like specific heavy metals in the water.
Okay, tracking with you.
The company might have a highly confidential, patented chemical mixture they use in their manufacturing. The distillery uses its filters to strip away that privately owned operational truth, the secret recipe, but it keeps the H2O.
The pure physics of the work.
Yes. The H2O is the fundamental physics of the work. It is the optimal kinetic motion of a human arm turning a specific type of industrial wrench.
That's a great way to put it. The distillery generalizes the physics while protecting the recipe. It refines the evidence, evaluates the models, and separates a customer's proprietary operational truth from intelligence that can be generalized under explicit rights.
Let's translate that PR phrase, generalized under explicit rights. That basically means EON can take the generalized physics of turning that wrench and use it to make their overarching AI smarter, but they leave the customer's secret chemical recipe locked safely behind the customer's firewall.
Yes. And once the distillery finishes that purification process, it pumps out what EON calls mission-ready intelligence packages.
The clean drinking water.
Exactly. This is the clean, safe drinking water that gets sent back out to the workforce and to edge devices. And this actually touches on a direct quote from Dan Lajerskar. He's the founder and chairman of EON AI Ventures, and he frames the entire stakes of this release beautifully.
What does he say?
He states, the next generation of enterprise AI will not be defined by who owns the largest language model. It will be defined by who can manufacture trusted work intelligence for the physical world.
Wow. That is such a massive pivot from the cultural conversation we are having right now. Everyone is obsessing over who has the most parameters, who can process the most text, or who can generate the most realistic video of a cat playing a piano.
Right. He is completely sidestepping the generative AI arms race.
He is saying the real trillion-dollar value is in manufacturing trusted intelligence for physical, real-world execution.
And think about it. If you are listening to this and you manage a team or you run a facility, think about your best employee.
Yeah.
What happens to your bottom line, your safety record, and your efficiency if they just walk out the door tomorrow?
It's a nightmare scenario.
It is. The economic implications of this platform are profound because it creates sustainable value by solving that exact vulnerability. For industrial enterprises, faster knowledge transfer means new employees get up to speed in days instead of months.
And it generates stronger compliance evidence, too, because the system verifies procedures were followed physically, not just checked off on a clipboard by some guy with a pen.
Exactly. Ultimately, it drastically reduces their dependence on scarce human expertise.
But if this system is constantly watching workers and continuously learning from them to pump out these purified intelligence packages, it creates a glaring operational question for me.
Which is?
So what does this all mean if a worker just does something wrong? What if a worker finds a shortcut that is faster, so the system notices it, but that shortcut is actually highly dangerous over time? We have to explore how EON stops bad data from poisoning the well.
This is the most critical hurdle for physical AI. EON addresses this through a very strict architectural separation within their flywheel.
How does that work?
The entire process is broken down into 4 isolated steps: measurement, proposed learning, approval, and release. They make it abundantly clear in the release field evidence does not directly rewrite operational truth.
So to continue our water analogy, a worker dumping toxic waste into the river does not automatically poison the drinking supply. Let's walk through the mechanics of that chain of custody.
Right. It starts with assess IQ, which we discussed. It measures the execution of the task in the field. Now, let's say a worker does find that faster shortcut you mentioned.
Okay.
Compound IQ, which is the next module, notices this deviation. But it doesn't just record a video of the new behavior. It mathematically compares the worker's physical motion against the baseline 3D model.
Wow, okay.
It spots the micro deviation and proposes it as a candidate operational delta.
So an operational delta is essentially the system flagging a mathematical difference in the physical procedure and saying, hey, this human did something new. Should we learn from this?
Yes, but it absolutely stops there. The system cannot teach that new shortcut to anyone else yet. This is where the governance layer steps in.
The human element.
Exactly. Human supervisors or systemic governance protocols must evaluate that proposed delta to determine if it is actually safe and effective. It determines what may become trusted. Only after that explicit approval does the distillery version and release the newly approved learning package back out to the workforce.
But wait, if assess IQ measures, compound IQ flags the delta, and then we have to wait for this human governance layer to review and approve it before the distillery can release it.
Yeah.
Doesn't that inherently create a massive bottleneck?
It sounds like it, right?
Yeah. If there is a human-in-the-loop requirement to approve every single physical deviation, doesn't that put a severe speed limit on this flywheel effect they are so proud of? It feels like it defeats the purpose of a fast-learning AI.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that speed limit is the most important feature of the entire platform. It is not a bug.
Really? How so?
Think about the digital world. If a large language model hallucinates, maybe a customer gets a weird automated email, or a line of code has a syntax error. It's a headache, but it is fixable.
Nobody dies from a bad email.
Exactly. But in the physical world of heavy industry, an AI hallucination can break a $50 million turbine, or worse, cause a fatal accident. EON's accompanying white paper, The Compounding Value of Work Intelligence, details this architecture specifically to prove that their governance ensures absolute safety and reliability.
Ah, I see. You need the bottleneck because the cost of a false positive in the physical world is just way too high.
Precisely. But the implications go far beyond just keeping human workers safe today. This strict governance model is actually the crucial bridge to the future of automation. By proving that they can rigorously govern and verify physical procedures right now, they are laying the groundwork for tomorrow.
At the long game.
EON states this explicitly. The platform creates value over time across human and machine executors.
Machine executors. That is the phrase that completely shifts the gravity of this press release for me. We are not just talking about giving human workers an augmented reality checklist anymore.
No, we are absolutely not. We are talking about solving one of the most stubborn problems in robotics, known as Moravec's paradox.
Let's unpack Moravec's paradox for the listener, because it perfectly illustrates the wall that physical AI has been hitting for years.
So, Moravec's paradox is the observation that high-level reasoning requires very little computation, but low-level sensory-motor skills require enormous computational resources.
Right. It's the reason an AI can pass the bar exam, write a symphony, and diagnose complex diseases, but we still struggle to build a robot that can safely walk up a flight of stairs, or fold a load of laundry, or turn a rusty valve on an oil rig without breaking it.
The digital stuff is easy for AI. The physical stuff is incredibly hard. And to overcome that paradox, robotics companies need training data. They need millions of hours of flawless, verified data showing exactly how physical tasks are accomplished in 3D space under real-world conditions.
And that is exactly what EON is building with this flywheel. If you can definitively prove to an enterprise that your Work Intelligence Distillery only produces 100% safe, verified, human-approved mission packages, well, then eventually that company is going to feel entirely comfortable handing those packages over to an autonomous system.
Which means the human workers of today, by wearing these headsets and being measured by SSIQ, are essentially generating the flawless training data that will eventually animate the robotic replacements of tomorrow.
That is wild. EON is capturing the physical intelligence of human workers, refining it, governing it, and packaging it so that autonomous machines, robots, and drones can execute those same physical tasks without the fear of unchecked errors.
The human workforce is seeding the intelligence for the autonomous workforce. It is a highly controlled path from human assistance to bounded agent and robot missions.
That is just an incredible transition to witness, and it brings us to a really fascinating conclusion for today's deep dive. For the last 2 decades, the obsession in the enterprise tech world has been entirely focused on capturing data about static things. We call it the Internet of Things.
Right, IoT. We put sensors on everything to record states of being.
Exactly. How many widgets did the factory produce? What is the temperature of the boiler? Where is the delivery truck right now?
It was all about tracking the outputs and the machinery.
But this EON AI Ventures release marks a definitive pivot. We are moving from capturing data about things to capturing the intelligence of fluid, physical human actions. They are digitizing the human procedure itself, turning industrial expertise into a governed compounding asset.
They are bridging the gap between the fragile, expert human memory we rely on today and the autonomous robotic operations of the future. They are essentially downloading the master technician's brain into the facility itself.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a really profound question to mull over. If this work intelligence flywheel actually works, if it successfully encodes the nuanced physical expertise of the world's absolute best master technicians, and if it distills that knowledge so perfectly that we could eventually hand those flawless instructions over to robots and drones, what happens to the human master craftsman?
It forces us to entirely redefine what physical mastery actually means.
Does physical human expertise eventually become completely obsolete? If a humanoid robot can download 30 years of your hard-earned physical experience in 3 seconds, do we even need humans turning wrenches on the factory floor?
Or does this simply elevate human workers to a new level?
Right. Does removing the burden of dangerous, repetitive physical tasks allow humans to step into entirely new, creative, supervisory, or strategic roles in the physical world?
Perhaps the master craftsman doesn't disappear at all. Perhaps the role evolves from executing the work to orchestrating the machines that do.
It is a paradigm shift that will entirely redefine the value of human labor in the industrial sector, and is something you should absolutely be paying attention to as these spatial and AI technologies continue to roll out. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the EON AI Ventures press release. Keep questioning how the physical and digital worlds are merging, keep looking for the systems behind the work, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.